Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Yin practice. A few props that will be handy for today are just having some kind of a bolster or a fat pillow and maybe a thin pillow as well. And anything else that you'd like to have around, make sure you feel cozy enough and comfortable. And when you're ready, we're going to get started on the back. Just have your bolster nearby so you can lower down. And once you have, we'll set up for a legs up pose. So feet roughly underneath the knees, lift the hips just enough that you can slide your prop underneath the bum. So think more pelvis than spine, but make sure it feels supported and comfortable wherever it is. And from here, one knee up, then the other, you can start to extend the legs up towards the ceiling, and you might need to adjust your props a little bit here. The legs don't have to be fully extended. If you want to bend the knees even generously, you can do that. Or if you like to start off like this, then go for it. And seeing if the legs are extended, especially finding that place where the ankles can stack roughly on top of the hips, and looking for an expression that feels relatively effortless. Let the ankles be relaxed to their natural space. And then the hands can be wherever you like them. So if you want them on the body, beside the body, towards the floor overhead, or up towards the ceiling, and choose whatever feels the most comfortable. And again, you could change it up halfway through if you like. If the arms are lifted, then similar to the legs, find a sense of lightness to them as best you can. Wrists stacked roughly on top of the shoulders. If the eyes can close down, then go for it, or a soft gaze. Gently wiggle the fingers and the toes, and pedal the heels a little bit, and circle the wrists. And then as you feel ready, connect the knees into your chest. You can wrap the arms around the knees and give yourself a hug here. Separating the knees, reaching between them to catch hold of the feet for happy baby. And still resting the pelvis on the bolster here. And don't worry too much about what the shape looks like, but imagine that the arms and the legs are really heavy. As you feel ready to bring the legs back together, once again hugging the knees over the chest, and pause here for a moment. Hmm. When you're ready, lower the feet down to the floor, and to set up for the second pose, just make sure that the bolster is still in a place that feels supportive for you. And from here, lifting the legs back up, we'll cross the left leg on top of the right leg, and then reach either for the knees or maybe for the shins. See what it feels like to draw the knees a little closer to the chest. You might get a nice stretch through the bum, through the backs of the legs. You can also explore walking the hands even further down, maybe catching hold of the ankles. And then what does it feel like to draw the feet a little further apart, side to side? Whatever you're exploring, make sure it's a pain-free expression and find your breath. Notice if maybe the arms or shoulders are working a little harder than they have to here. And then gently, as you're ready, release the ankles or the knees, wherever you're holding. Uncross the legs. Once again, hug the knees into the chest and pause. We'll set up second side. If you need to adjust your prop, then please do. And this time we'll cross the right knee in front of the left. And then reach for the knees. Once again, you can explore drawing them towards the body, see what that feels like. You can reach for the shins, maybe the ankles. Maybe you're doing that thing where you're taking the feet further apart in space. And find your version of the shape, find your breath. And gently release the legs, collect the knees into the chest. gently when you feel ready to lower your feet down to the floor. And we'll keep the bolster, but once again, give it a little adjustment. Make sure it's not lost its shape and that it still feels supportive for you. And then if you feel comfortable here, almost like a gentle restorative bridge shape, you can stay or explore extending the legs long down the mat and see what distance you want to play with between the feet here. You might explore taking the feet a little further apart, maybe as wide as the mat, and just see what that feels like. If it feels good, keep it. If it felt better with the feet closer, then go for that. And see if the ankles want to release a little bit here. Maybe they're kind of flopping in or out. Let them do their thing. And if you want to reach the arms up overhead, you might explore that as well. Otherwise, hands on the body or somewhere beside it. If you have the arms up overhead, you can bring them back down to your sides and then start to bend the knees, walk the feet a little closer. And once the feet are roughly underneath the knees, you can lift the hips and push your bolster out of the way, lowering the pelvis down. And then it might feel nice to windshield wiper the knees a little bit side to side. Awesome. Bring the knees back to center. Keep the feet nice and wide apart. You might use your bolster down on the right side here. And then take both your knees down towards the right. The right leg can rest any way it likes on the bolster. If you don't need the bolster, move it out of the way. And you might also take the right ankle, lift it, and place it on top of the left knee. At this point, you might realize that the left knee is actually the one that needs a little more support, in which case you can switch it. So take a moment and find your expression of the shape. And the arms can reach wide if you like to a T shape. Left foot to the floor if it was lifted, and lift the knees back up to center. And pelvis to center. If it shifted, you can take your bolster over to the left. And then with the feet wide, lower the knees down towards the left. And see what this side needs. If the bolster for the left knee, maybe the left ankle lifts, maybe bolster for the right knee, maybe for both. Now find an arm expression that complements the shape for you. Breathe here. And then left foot to the floor. If it's lifted, lift the knees back up to center. And then roll off to one side. And with the support of the hands, come up towards the seat. And setting up our final pose, rest pose, restorative fish. Using your bolster, you can place it lengthwise on the mat. If you're using a prop that's particularly plump, this is where a soft block or a blanket might come in handy. You can sit up off of that so that it's a little less steep for the low back. Make sure you have everything you need nearby. If you need a blanket or anything like that for your rest pose, then go for it. Maybe a couple of blocks if you want to do butterfly legs in this shape. When you're ready, you can lower your spine down onto the prop. Make sure it's long enough as well. If you have quite a long spine, then an extra prop might be handy to rest the head on so it's not hovering if that doesn't work for you. Now this is a shape for the upper body. See what works for the lower body. You could do butterfly legs. You could do easy pose legs, legs extended. See where the arms want to be here. Are they out to the side? Do they want to be long down the mat? Maybe on the body somewhere if that's more supportive. But take your time and find the shape that feels the most inviting and settle yourself into it. Gently bring your attention back to the space. And if the legs aren't extended, then you might extend them for a moment. Maybe give the feet a little movement side to side, maybe a little movement for wrists, for arms, shoulders. Maybe extending the arms up overhead and finding a full body stretch. And then see how you can exit your props. It might feel best to bend the knees and then roll off to one side. And finding your way to a fetal position, maybe resting the head on that bottom arm. Moving nice and slow, there's no rush. And taking your time to make your way up to any comfortable seated position. And using whichever props you have nearby, finding any comfortable seated position. And whatever's on the floor settles down, spine is nice and tall. And take these last few moments of your practice to check in with the body. Notice what everything feels like. Notice your mind. Notice your breath. The hands can stay where they are. Connect the hands in at the heart. Bow the chin to the chest. And thank you for sharing your practice today. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for Yin practice. And again, my name is Nicholas. If you have any questions, please reach out and have a great evening.